Welcome to another Linfield Coaches CatChat. Joe Stewart here with head Linfield softball coach Jackson Vaughn. The week of the NWC Championship Tournament as the Wildcats are for a fourth consecutive year champions of the Northwest Conference regular season. Coach, congrats on another championship season. I know you guys hope to have a lot more games left to be played here over this last month of the season, but it's been another fun year for this team as you guys started off really hot, and we knew right away another undefeated season was very unlikely. Of course, last year, only one of the second time it's ever happened in college softball. And this year, you guys started great and then got certainly a little bit of a schedule advantage in the conference play as you got to play the bottom half of the league kind of through the first half of the season. And then this last month, you've played the other kind of top half of the Northwest Conference and taken a few losses there, but some really big wins as well, including ending the season with the home-and-home sweep this last weekend against Willamette. Big run rule wins on Sunday to wrap that up. Overall thoughts on how the team's playing right now and kind of summary of the second half of the season as we gear up for the playoffs?
I think we've just been a little bit inconsistent, but at times we look really, really good. Obviously on Sunday was a great point against Willamette. We looked incredible on offense on Sunday, and the pitchers, I thought, pitched it pretty well. And we've had those games against everybody. There was a couple games, obviously, against Fox. We looked great and won pretty handily, and then obviously some games we didn't look as good. And we look really good, I think, day one against Lewis and Clark and win fairly handily. And then day two is a little bit more a battle, and then we end up dropping the fourth game of the series where we didn't hit very well. And we're such a talented offensive team. I think we have such high expectations that, when we aren't scoring 5 or 6 runs in a game, that certainly feels like it's underachieving just because of the depth of our lineup and how much talent we have offensively. So a little bit inconsistent, but certainly I think Lewis and Clark and Fox are very, good teams. And if we don't play our best, they're certainly very capable of beating us. And so overall happy. Obviously winning the conference is always our first goal. I think it's the thing that you remember the most as players, just because it's regional. You have so much familiarity. We play everybody 4 times. When you look back in 10 or 15 years, you certainly remember that a lot, versus I think if you don't win the conference, it's kind of as fresh as like a regional opponent beat you and you end up losing to a team from the Midwest or Texas. There's no, you're very rarely going to ever come across that school name again, where I think if you obviously live in state Northwest, you're always going to run into the Fox name or Lewis and Clark name or whatever, you know what I mean? So I think, for our kids, we always talk about that's the first and foremost goal every year is to win the conference and secure, obviously a chance to host the conference tournament, but also that really, if you won the conference, you're probably going to get in the playoffs just because you've had a good enough year. So.
Yeah, it's been exciting to watch, and it's been entertaining games, and obviously all of this success this year is driven by this incredible senior class that you have, and a lot of success of the last 4 years. This is a group that has won the conference every year of their career, gone to the national playoffs every year of their career. Obviously, you had a fantastic ceremony for them pregame, and you really sent them off right, and you got to go one by one and shout them all out. But just kind of in summary, what is this group meant to the program? I mean, this is one of you've had some incredible classes. This is not just one of the most talented Linfield softball classes of all time. This is one of the most talented cohorts to come through any Linfield athletics program ever.
Oh, for sure. I think the depth of class is impressive, and like I said, you have kids that stepped on the field and started for us from day one, like Claire and Bryn, and have really solidified themselves as some of the best players in program history. You have a kid like K2 who didn't play a lot of freshman year, but then became and jumped on the senior sophomore year and really became the third all-American caliber player in the class. And then you have kids that have just developed continually over the years and have now made themselves as seniors and upperclassmen, really good players like Ashley Sutton and JC and Tiani. All those kids have just continued to kind of get better, where they've made that class so deep now where we're starting at times 6 and obviously 7 seniors in the lineup, and they all have different strengths and weaknesses, but they all, and they've all kind of picked each other up, because we talk about all the time, we're not probably going to have many games where all 9 are on, we should say, as hitters, but a lot of times if we can get 5 or 6 kids where we feel like they're on and seeing it well and swinging well on time, that we're going to be a pretty tough team to beat. And so that's been great, and they just get along so well. A lot of them have lived together for their whole careers. They're all, as I talked about on senior day, just phenomenal students. I mean, K2 is the academic All-American of the year last year. Bryn's an academic All-American. 2 or 3 other ones are above 3.95 for the cumulative GPAs at Linfield. So just super impressive what they've done on the field, but also what they've done just at Linfield in general academically. And so it'll be obviously a ton of fun to see what they do when they leave Linfield, but obviously we're going to enjoy the last few weeks here we get with them.
Yeah, class of 2025, legends for sure. You mentioned Claire there. Claire Seats, as you said, great player all 4 years, but been on another level this season. And she's closing in on the all-time career RBI record for the program. She's making a National Player of the Year case, leading the country in total bases. How did she raise her ceiling to even a greater level this year? And what's it like for you as a coach to watch an excellent player, an already excellent player, just absolutely take the roof off their potential?
I mean, that part's awesome. And Claire's just a kid who has high expectations like all of our kids do. And she really stayed here in the summer and I think upped her work level in the weight room heavily. She got a lot stronger, and she was already pretty strong, but like got a lot stronger, got a little more explosive. And a lot for her is all players hitting. I think continue to improve your mental game and trying to be a little bit more consistent and just be able to not let bad at bats lead to more bad at bats sometimes. And you come in and watch her take BP. She's certainly one of the most talented kids we've had in terms of just consistently being able to hit the ball with power, and in multiple locations. Some hitters are pretty good, in a particular location, and but not so much in other parts of the plate. Where Claire's a kid that's pretty dangerous in almost every part of the plate. If she does things right, she has the potential to do damage. And she's just a deceiving kid a little bit, because like you look at her and she's not obviously the biggest kid, but certainly has great bat speed and great hand-eye coordination, and very twitchy, very explosive in terms of how she swings the bat. And so we always have thought she would be good. I joke with her. We had a conversation her freshman year in my office where I told her, I was like, you have the talent to one day be the conference player of the year. I was like, you just have to figure some things out and believe in yourself that you have that ability to do it. And so it's been awesome this year to kind of see that come to fruition a little bit where she's played at that level.
I love that story you told on senior day about her struggling even just to bench the bar as a freshman, and now to see her become one of the best sluggers in the country. Work overall, I mean, this has always been a great tenet. The hard work has been a great tenet of your program, as it is for any great program in any sport, really. But how has the work, especially behind closed doors, in the early mornings, over the summer, defined what this class of 2025 has been able to achieve?
I think they've just bought in, and they've done, I think, what most of our teams have done, and they've just worked really hard. I think that's where it all starts, and I think it makes the team mentally tougher. I think it builds confidence in each other, because you see everybody putting in hard work. Obviously makes us stronger, in the weight room, and but just all the off the field stuff that has to happen to kind of make you good. And they've been as good as any class. There's been so many good classes that way. I don't know that they're way better than some of the classes, but certainly the size of the class and how unified they've been that way and how consistent they've been has certainly been right up there with any class we've ever had.
Claire's hit 18 home runs. As a team, 80. This weekend passed 2010's group that hit 78 for second most all-time in program history. 103 is in play with a deep postseason run. I know you don't want to talk about that too much, but this leads Division III, obviously, and the next group is George Fox at 55. I mean, you guys have hit 40 home runs in the last month of the season, and that would be good enough for top 10. I don't mean to ask you to start ranking your best offensive teams, but how many other groups have you had this much confidence in to be able to get the job done offensively?
I mean, it's certainly up there. Our 2011 team obviously is off the charts in terms of how good they were, and our 2007 team wasn't quite as home run powered, but the team that won it as a team hit over 400 as a team, and I think we had like 7 kids in that lineup that hit like over 370. So they were awful impressive, just like these guys are. I think what's impressive, as I told them, is obviously take a look at the end of the year stats this year, and our team ended up leading the country in batting average as a team, also the country in home runs and slugging percentage, and then runs scored. And so the bottom line on offense is the goal is to score runs, and the home runs are great, but really the ability to get on base and score runs is the most critical part of our game. And home runs make that easier because there's no defense for them. But so certainly the mix, though, of being able to hit for average and to hit home runs is what makes the team obviously as good as they are. Because I think if you just hit home runs, I think you run into a situation where you get good enough pitching, like the home runs don't happen, you play in a deep park, whatever, they don't come quite as easy. Then it's what are you doing to get on base, and what are you doing to score runs in other ways. And so that's where this team has been pretty lethal, is they have the ability to obviously hit the long ball, but they've also we have high batting averages across the board. We have high batting averages pretty much 1 through 9, where everybody that's a starter I think is at least hitting 330 or above, and most of them are obviously higher than that. So I think that's what's most impressive, and I think just the ability to pick each other up, because we've had times where so-and-so's a little bit in a slump and they're not doing as well. Well, now so-and-so's hot, you know what I mean? And so they've kind of counteracted. We've even had times where the top third of the lineup is not hitting that great, but then all of a sudden our bottom three is hitting phenomenal. We had a weekend like that not very long ago where it might have been at Fox even, like our 7, 8, 9 were kind of on fire. Ashley had a phenomenal weekend. And so that's been probably the cool part about it is the depth of it and how they picked each other up. But I think just the ability to hit for average and for power has been pretty special.
Yeah, leading the country in a bunch of categories, top 5 in a bunch of others as well. Hard to argue that this isn't the best offensive team in Division III right now, and that's certainly gone a long way to helping out the Tylers. I mean, you've got 2 very good pitchers there in the circle, in your sophomore Tyler McNeely, your grad senior Tyler Warden. Obviously, having the best offense in the country helps out with that as well. But with McNeely, I mean, we know how these softball postseasons go. It's a rare case where a team has 2 pitchers that they're going to both be throwing a lot throughout the playoffs. And obviously, last few years, you relied on Taya Kelly very heavily, as that is often the way of successful programs. With McNeely, just a sophomore, really only used her in select spots in the postseason last year. What do you tell a young, talented pitcher that's gearing up to be leaned upon in the postseason for the first time in their career?
I think he tried not to make it too big, and she just got to go out and play and do her best and not overthink things and not put too much pressure on things. I think she got, the nice thing in our conference is like she got to play in some games where we knew that we needed to win. When she pitched against Lewis and Clark, when she pitched against PLU, even at the end of the year when she pitched against Fox, So and even going to Georgia and starting the year off and you're pitching against trying to start the year, like there's been moments of pressure throughout the year where you're playing someone good and you know that the team is counting on you. And so I'm hopeful that the playoffs won't seem that much different to her. Like it's a big game, but again you kind of learn as the more you play. If you make it too big and you try too hard, it doesn't usually turn out very good, both hitting or pitching in baseball, softball. So I think the more that she just plays her game and she locates and throws hard, then trust the defense behind her and then trust the offense that she has. If she makes a mistake or two, that we're going to pick her up on offense. I think that's what we hope to get from her. And hopefully every time she gets to pitch, she just grows a little bit and gets a little more confidence as she goes. And I thought she bounced back even this weekend pretty well. She did not pitch well on Saturday against Willamette. Came back home on Sunday and pitched much, much better and looked like the Tyler that we've had most of the year, that I think is certainly worthy of the conference pitcher of the year. And so I think, you get some of those up and downs sometimes with a young pitcher. And so we're just hoping she continues to grow and be confident and we get the consistent kid that we know that she's capable of over the playoff run.
And certainly it's nice to have the veteran in your back pocket as well as your number 2 option. And Tyler Warden, obviously, has been throughout her career. Sometimes you've used her, sometimes you've gone away from her a little bit. This year, obviously, number 2 option and has been around the block as much as any player on your roster at this point. Thoughts on how she's ended the regular season of her career and what you'll be looking for her to bring just to this group overall as they get ready for the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, Tyler's, I think, certainly one of the unquestioned leaders of our team, both just emotionally and how she consistently works super hard and unbelievably positive and always picking everybody up. And so she has that element in addition to what she does for us in the circle. And in the circle, I think she does adds a little bit more variety. She actually has more kind of options in terms of pitches we can throw than sometimes Tyler McNeely does, with the ability to locate and do some different things. And so sometimes she presents a positive matchup for us with certain kids that maybe McNeely doesn't quite as much. And so and she's had games, we went up to PLU and she was able to shut them out when we played them at the end of the year, and thought she pitched pretty well on senior day. And so she's had a really good senior year. And so especially after last year when we had Taya and Tyler, she kind of got moved to 3, and Taya and Tyler were so dominant last year that we really didn't need a 3. So she pitched not a lot last year is her true senior year. And so for her to come back, invest in grad school in a 5th year, to kind of come back and play, to have the year that she's had and pitch as much as she has and pitch as well as she had, is incredibly satisfying for me, just because that's what you hope for a kid like her. Like, she's done everything right, earned it, you know what I mean? And you just hope her on-field production can kind of match, and then hopefully it's been the same for her, which has been unbelievably, satisfying to make that commitment to come back for a 5th year, because there's no guarantee, as I told her when she decided, we hope it works out great, but she didn't know coming the year she could end up being number 3 again and had a minimal impact in terms of on the field. But we knew she'd have a big impact on the team regardless of what she did on the field, just because of what kind of person she is. And so that was one reason I think we were super excited to have her back. And she was excited to come back because I think she knew she could make an impact on the team regardless.
Looking at this weekend, Lewis and Clark, the 2 seed, George Fox, the 3 seed, PLU, the 4 seed. You'll be playing them in the first game at 11 o'clock on Friday. These are teams that now are used to the NWC playoffs. All of them have been there at least 3 times in the last 4 or 5 years or so. And teams, obviously, in Fox and Lewis and Clark, as we just talked about at the start of the interview, have gotten a game or 2 off of you. Just your thoughts on the playoff field here for the NWC postseason.
Yeah, I think the neat thing with this new NPI ranking system is our conference has certainly gotten a lot more recognition.
Mm-hmm.
As both Lewis and Clark and Fox are lingering in that top 50 area. So I think you're going in a conference tournament. We're not playing, teams that are ranked in the bottom 200 of the country as some conference tournaments. So that's kind of what it is. And so we're playing teams that are top 50 oriented teams, and you're playing a team in Fox that's second in the country in home runs. You're playing a team in Lewis and Clark that's very veteran. They're very junior, senior oriented. They got a really good junior pitcher in O'Leary that can command and throw some velocity. And you got PLU, who's been probably the most veteran of the teams in the conference tournament. That same has a pitcher that's been up there statistically with the other best pitchers in the conference in Wilson. And they're well, all 3 teams are well coached and do good things. And so, and our sport's a weird sport. Like, you got to, regardless of how many home runs we've hit, we can't take any in the weekend. Like, you got to perform this weekend, and you got to be able to execute, and you got to be able to play well in that moment. And in our sport, the ball's got to find the hole sometimes, and got to hope sometimes, ball doesn't take a bad hop on a ground ball that becomes a critical play. And so I think you go into it knowing that we just got to play well. And I think that's the confidence, as we know on paper and from past experiences. If we play well, then we're tough to beat. If we don't play well, then we know if the other teams that are in the conference play well, we're certainly capable of getting beat. And so that's obviously what makes sports and competition fun, I think, is that you got to build a rise to that occasion and play well this weekend. And hopefully we come out on top. But if we don't, I know our kids will compete their butts off this weekend.
Wildcats hosting the Northwest Conference softball tournament for the 8th time since it first started in 2011, and looking to get back to the NCAA tournament. Won't be easy with some competitive Northwest Conference squads visiting McMinnville this weekend, and the action will all start Friday with a 4-game day as the Wildcats host the 4-seed PLU at 11 o'clock Friday morning. They'll be followed by 3 games throughout Friday afternoon. We'll take a break on Saturday for Lewis and Clark's commencement before wrapping up with 3 games, as many as 3 games on Sunday, as we crown the Northwest Conference champion here in McMinnville. We hope you come down and cheer on the Wildcats and see all the action in person, but if not, we'll of course have live streaming coverage of every game on the Linfield Sports Network. Coach, thanks for the time. Congrats on a great season. We look forward to the playoffs.
Appreciate it. Thank you.